it's June 28th. They're gonna change it up a little bit this week. We're gonna shoot in 4K and see how big the file size is and how long it takes to upload to YouTube. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. These early dolls, they're not that big. I mean, they look really good. They're, I don't know, the size of a small plum. They're all starting to ripen. The old midnight snack, everything is also starting to ripen, doing its thing. So I figure about max a week on this, and I need to pick these, and then this plant needs to get chopped down and replaced. The grape tomatoes, been picking at these a little bit. Gave some away to one of the girls at work. She come by, picked up a couple basil plants, give her some tomatoes. So I'm figuring after this is done, I don't think this plant is going to produce anymore. I think it's pretty much shot. The black creme, well, what I assumed was a black creme, doesn't look very creme-like. I mean, this one does a little bit. Looks more like a regular tomato. Anyways, so it's got a bunch of stuff hanging out, going down there. That's from the same branch. This one, I assumed was a black creme. It may be a giant red pear. I may have just got things all screwed up when I was cutting off the suckers or whatnot. But anyways, this one's starting to, some of them starting to ripen. Babe Lincoln, it's pretty much done. I was just letting those, like I talked about before, do its thing. And then the abused beefsteak, which didn't do much, that's ready to go. The mini pepper and mini tomato plants need to get transplanted this week, next week. I've got 2 sun golds ready to go, and I picked up a Tammy G grape tomato to replace this other one. I didn't have anything to cut off as a sucker, and the stores don't have Juliet grapes. There's my basils from cut off of my basil plant, and then I've got a couple snap peas. Apparently the other ones didn't want to germinate. I had 2 Space Master cucumbers, only one. I put like 3 in each pot too. Same thing with divas, then 1 each or 1.5. So I need to transplant these and then get some more seeds started. Lost a little bit of the jalapeno plant. A couple branches fell off. They were just so heavy. There's so many jalapenos on here that the branches cannot support all of the fruit that's on there. So I mean, I've got this one plant has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 strings trying to hold it all up. So this weekend, next weekend, need to pick the jalapenos and get those canning. You can't see it with the jungle here, but I lost the banana pepper plant. It completely fell over, broke in half, and it's got like 1 pepper on there. I was able to retrieve the peppers. That and the wind, although we are in the greenhouse, the bottom half, so it's about 3.5 feet, is wide open. So Scotch bonnet I had to get strung up as well. It's got dozens and dozens of peppers on it, and it's got a few strings going on, not a lot. I got the green peppers strung up, and this other plant is more tall than fruitful. But this other one, as I get my way back, there's 4 or 5 good-sized peppers. I mean, that's as big as my hand. So that needs to get picked. Things overall are doing well in the greenhouse, even considering the heat. These are your chocolate sprinkles. They're getting pretty good size, and they're starting to turn their rusty orange with their green stripes. This big beef didn't get very big. And it's got one, I guess there's a couple smaller tomatoes. I mean, it's plugging along. It's not doing great, but just letting it do what it's gonna do. Midnight snack. This is from this year. The fruit's a little bigger on these than what was on this plant that's kind of hanging out here. And it's just doing its thing. Some stuff is still deep purple, and then some stuff is just starting to turn color. The indigo, nothing's really turning color yet. It's still purple with green. The Tesla land currant, not doing so well. I don't think it's liking the heat. There is buds on here, but I'm not seeing any tomatoes. I did see some a week or so ago, and I don't know if something got in here and ate it or whatnot, but it's also going rampant back in the back. You can't really see it, it's just so dense, and I've got some strings holding it up. Yeah, just kind of letting it do its thing. And then the sun gold is doing what it's supposed to do. They're turning gold and orange, and they get a reddish color based on the picture, but so those are doing pretty good. All right, outside, there's the pitiful cucumbers that need to get cleaned up and replaced. The biggest thing, and I'll step back, is this weed of a watermelon plant. If you remember, there's a 27.5 gallon tote, that size, turned sideways. It's coming all the way over here. It's starting to wrap its way down here. It's all the way over by the strawberries. It's all the way over by the corn. And it's starting to creep its way over by the rutabagas as well. Baby bok choy needs to be picked. It's flowering. It needs to be eaten. So these two sets, there's two in a bucket. Those were all dead. Those were divas. These two in the edge of this bucket are divas, and this one's been coming back, so this one's growing some cucumbers. I picked two yesterday. There's one hanging there. The cucamelon has finally come back to life and is doing pretty good considering the heat and its size. Let me get in the way here so it's not so sunshiny. And look, there is your baby cucamelon. I get the beta size about a grape from what I understand. So there's other ones on here, but we'll see. I mean, you can see how tiny the buds are. Lemon cucumber, it kind of hits and misses with the heat. It looks like it's gonna die and then it comes back. There's a baby one in there. And they look like little yellow tennis balls. There you go. There's a couple of them hiding out in there. This pepper plant is a keystone, or these two are keystone peppers. They're supposed to be a bell pepper variety. And they need to get trimmed up. They're just starting to hit their stride. These snap peas, apparently grew two snap peas. I didn't even see them, and they're just not dealing well with the heat. The Roma beans have been doing real well. Picked some last week. The Chinese long bean isn't doing real well. Like, it grew one. That's not a snake, that's a bean. There's one back here. And it's starting to get wilty already before I even had a chance to do anything with it. So I don't see any other beans. I'm just gonna kind of let them grow and go to seed at best. Bitter melon's doing really well. Let me stand in the shade here so we can see a little better. That's not too bad. That's like a big pickle. But there is a full-size one hanging out back right behind it. And it's really dense in here, so, but there are others hanging out in here. I just haven't wanted to disturb them. There's another one. There's a wrinkly one right behind it. The orange Russolini. It's got plenty of water. It's not doing well. We've had a lot of wind. There's the Tesla land current. It's kind of blowing all over the place. I just been kind of letting them do their thing. The rutabaga looks a little droopy, but it was pretty hot yesterday. But it's doing fine. Big healthy plants. There's only 6 in there. Those are more the size of grape tomatoes. I don't know how big they're supposed to get. Green beans, these are starting to produce. And then the big bean plant has just been going crazy. So potatoes are poking through. Corn is doing really well. 2, 3, about 3 ears on each one. Nothing to write home about, but first time I grew corn, so whatever. The zucchini gave 2 to one of the girls at work. There's 2 monsters growing in here, and there's basically one hanging on, hanging off each section down here. That one I need to do something with. It's touching the ground. And there's basically all over on both sides. Strawberries, runners everywhere. These decided to burn and die off. I don't know why. They've been getting plenty of water. Has it been hot though? The Japanese radish. I don't see any radish underneath yet, but it's doing its thing. More carrots, old radishes. Cilantro flowered, and it's kind of gone to hell. Dill is starting to flower. It needs to be picked. But smells just like pickles out here. That big beef not doing too hot. I don't think it likes the smaller container. Green onions are doing their thing. These black and red carrots are doing well. There's not much carrot underneath, but it'll get there. The monstrous basil plant needs to be clipped or pruned, whatever terminology you want to use. It's starting to flower a little bit, so that's not great. And then another batch of radishes, and that's pretty much it for the jungle. Like I said, the craziest thing is this this watermelon plant.